It's been a back and forth spring between the offense and the defense, but one side of the ball finally gets the upper hand after the first scrimmage.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Monday. As we kick this week off, we kind of turn our attention to spring practice and this football project that is, bringing in new quarterbacks, a lot of new faces, getting ready for the 2025 season. It's been a back and forth spring for the most part. One side of the ball finally takes a little bit of a step forward this past Saturday. We're down a few guys, and we'll talk about those as well. And then we're going to talk about the style of offense that you should be prepared to see as the season starts here in about 5 or 6 months. But before we do that, we have to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off. If you live in the state of Alabama and you want to try this awesome salsa with a southern kick, you can go to any Publix near you. If you don't live close to any of those, definitely go online and save big. They got a mild, they got a spicy. You're going to love it. It's an Auburn family that you can support, an Auburn product. So show them some love. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. Last week we talked about spring practice multiple times. And I think one of the quotes that I had gotten up until that point in time is that this could be one of the better springs that Auburn's had from the standpoint that both sides of the ball are winning. Both sides of the ball are having wins. A lot of times in spring, and a lot of times it's the defense, because the defense is just ahead of the offense when practices like this start. A lot of times you just hear the defense is dominating the offense. And you're left with the questions in your mind, hey, is the defense going to be really good, or is the offense just going to be really bad? And fortunately, for at least the majority of spring this far, it's been back and forth. The defense has had big days. And it's really not even been like day by day. It's really just been within the day. Like the defense will make some big plays and the offense will make some big plays. Whether it be in one-on-one drills, 7-on-7, 11-on-11, it's just been like a back and forth boxing match, like a very even boxing match. You had Big Cat weekend this weekend, and Auburn had one of their first real scrimmages. There's been a lot of 11-on-11 work. But as far as like a game scenario, the first real scrimmage this past weekend, this past Saturday, with tons of recruits in attendance, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of those as the week goes on. Auburn picked up a big commitment. But the defense finally flexed their muscles. The defense finally flexed, kind of felt like this would happen eventually because they're so talented, and the defense won the day. And I think the exciting part is they really won it at all three levels. They won it on the defensive front. Put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. Really, really frustrated the run game. One of the quotes that I got was, we were really surprised that the linebackers in pass coverage. This is an explosive wide receiver group, and the linebackers, when they would drop back into zone, they were making it really tough to get those easy underneath passes, especially when it's a lot of times the RPO, you're reading the linebacker. A lot of young guys, a lot of guys with not a ton of experience. So they were excited about that. And then the secondary. You want to talk about iron sharpening iron. This Auburn secondary I honestly think could be one of the better. I've said it. Maybe wide receiver and defensive back are the best two positions on the team, and those two are going up against each other every single day. It's just awesome. It's awesome to hear. The secondary was frustrating. The wide receivers making it hard to get separation. Just overall, the defense had a day. And that's okay. That's okay to have. It's okay to have one side have a day and sort of assert themselves as dominant. You just got to rebound. You got to hear that rebound. You got to hear about, the offense winning a couple of battles. Now, I will say there were still, while you could say that the defense was clearly the winner, there were still some big plays on the offensive side, mostly through the passing game. And we're going to talk about that later, about offensive style. I don't think there were a ton of turnovers. I think it was mostly just stalling out drives. But there were still some big plays. Perry Thompson made a couple of big plays, which is great to hear. Both quarterbacks are still very, very sharp. I think, again, I don't think you could ask for a better spring out of those two guys as far as what you're getting at this point in time. Fired up about Deuce, fired up about Jackson. While the defense clearly won the day, I still think there were spots where the Auburn's wide receivers and quarterbacks got theirs, made some plays. How the rest of the spring plays out, we'll have to see. I will say this. I'm a little bit more excited. I'm a little bit more intrigued about A-Day. They're still calling it A-Day. Like, they're still pumping this thing up as A-Day. And I noticed that a lot of the players, they were doing some videos sort of encouraging the basketball team. And then they were mentioning coming to A-Day. They were mentioning, hey, we can't, good luck to the basketball team. Y'all go out and support them, and then we can't wait to see y'all at A-Day. I know there's going to be a big fan element after the fact, autograph signing and stuff like that. I know it's only an hour window that you get to see him, but it still seems like, hey, it's not going to be maybe it's going to be something that you can get, you can glean some info from, or it's something you can get a little taste. And it's not just going to be some generic, 7-on-7 camp. They're definitely putting some marketing behind it. They're definitely putting some emphasis behind it. So that's good to see. Everything's still going to culminate into a celebration with the fans at least this last year. I'll be excited. I haven't had a chance to see anything in person yet, so I'll be excited to see excited to see some of this in person for sure. I don't think there's any alarms to be sounded. I don't think there's anything to panic because we're still down a few guys on offense. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN for a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Give them $100. They're going to give you 50 back on top of it to play with. Tons of sporting events going on right now. Tons of lines, tons of different ways to bet. So definitely check them out at mybookie.ag. Then if you need a real estate agent in the Auburn, Opelika, Lee County area, give me a shout. With the Key Agency, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up on Instagram. You can email me at krush@thekeyagency.realestate. No matter if you want to buy, sell, or build. Worked with every builder in town. There may not be anyone better as far as knowing everything there is to know about every builder in town. I can definitely help you there. And then if you just want to invest, rental properties, condos, things like that, I got you covered. So give me a shout. I'd love to help you and your family. Auburn's down a few guys. Offensive line, we're very excited about. We're excited about that starting five group. Could be very, very strong. One thing you have to remember when you hear things like the defense dominated, the defense frustrated, the run game, you got to remember, I believe Connor Lew and Xavier Chaplin are not practicing at the moment. I mean, when I say practicing, they're not going full speed. They're in pads, but I don't think they're doing the actual 11-on-11 stuff, the actual scrimmage stuff. So you got a couple of backups in, and that can obviously make things a little bit tougher. The run game in general, I think, had a very tough time getting going. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. As far as injuries go, I've already mentioned those guys are still dressed out. That's a plus in and of itself. But regardless, you're still down some guys. And defense sounds like everybody's 100%. Like there's almost no injuries on the defensive side. And your defense, you just expect them to be ahead a little bit at this point in time. But you are down a few offensive linemen. So that's something definitely to keep in mind when you're listening to stuff like this. If you hear things like the defense, they smashed the offensive line, or the offensive line couldn't get any push, you do have to remember you're down a few guys. And I think that was the case. I think there was some times where they just couldn't get any breathing room in the run game. And we were kind of concerned about that just in general because of, you don't have Jarquez Hunter anymore. And you got two guys that don't have a ton of experience, ton of just continued snaps and reps in game experience. So we felt like maybe the run game would be a little bit behind. On top of that, though, you're down a few guys. So no surprise there that gave the defense a little bit of an upper hand on Saturday. Even still, I think offensive style is something that is going to be a little bit of a shock, or something that I think it's just going to have to be something that we get used to. What do I mean by that? I think Auburn is going to throw the ball, and this is just even more evidence of that to me. Auburn's going to throw the ball a lot. And when you think in the pass game, you're typically, I know in my mind, I'm thinking throwing the ball down the field, getting vertical. And I do think that's going to be a big part of this passing attack. But I think there's going to be a ton of passing game that's really going to be an extension of the running game. I mean, you just have too many good athletes, and that's the style Hugh wants to run anyway. I think we're going to have to prepare ourselves for that. That's not traditionally what we see at Auburn. We're running back you. Or at least, we like to think of ourselves as running back you. We like to feed the back. We like to get, 20, 30 carries a game. Smash mouth. I would go ahead and prepare myself to not necessarily see that this upcoming season. I don't think we have really the personnel for it. And I don't know that that's the desire for what Hugh wants in an offense. You got to be able to throw the ball vertically. You got to be able to challenge defenses in multiple ways. There were so many times when we could run the ball well, but we couldn't throw it. And you just knew once you finally face those upper tier teams, they were going to shut you down because you couldn't challenge them vertically. I don't think Auburn's going to have that problem this year. I think that's going to be the strength of this offense. That's going to be the focus of this offense. Get it vertical, get it on the edges. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands. You got multiple guys now that can turn a swing pass into, a 20-yard gain, or a quick slant into an 80-yard touchdown. In other words, we're not going to have to necessarily throw the ball 20 yards beyond the line of scrimmage to be able to move the ball. Get it out quick. The quick game is going to be very, very vital part of this offense. I'm just preparing you now. I'm preparing you now so we don't have to have that conversation of, oh, we should just run the ball more. We should just do this more. We should do that more. Just get ready. The ball's going in the air. I, for one, am excited about that. I think you look at most of the teams that were in the playoffs, great wide receivers, great passing attacks, able to challenge teams vertically. You're not going to have a ton of – I just don't think Auburn can recruit at the level of a Georgia to be able to just line up. Even Georgia threw the ball a lot. Jeez. And they didn't have any good wide receivers. But I just don't see that traditional mold. I don't see Auburn being able to recruit at the level to take that traditional style of Auburn football that you're used to and be able to win. This is what's going to – the passing attack and being able to push it, that's what's going to be able to make Auburn a dynamic offense. So get ready now. Get ready now. Probably going to see some passes on 3rd and 2. You're probably going to see a lot of passes on 1st and 2nd down. Or just get ready for it. Just get ready to experience more passes than runs, more than likely. Should everybody stay healthy. Now, if there's some bunch of injuries and, that obviously changes things. But just based off what I've been hearing and, the early returns on the run game in general, just prepare for the ball being in the air. A lot more stuff to talk about. We got a lot of recruiting stuff to talk about throughout the week. We got A-Day coming up. Probably going to be some basketball portal stuff coming up as well. A lot of content going to be dropping at the Barn Auburn YouTube page. You definitely need to make sure that you subscribe and you've hit that alert bell. That way you're ready when it drops. We're going to get Zepp on here this week. Going to have a couple more folks come on, talk about this basketball season and what to look forward to moving forward. And also there's a big ruling, the NCAA versus the House or whatever it is, essentially the NIL ruling, where we find out 100% is NIL moving in-house. Will there be anything to do with enforceable contracts, any new rules, any new regulations, salary caps, all that stuff is supposed to be ruled on this week, actually maybe even today. So how will all that affect Auburn? There's going to be a ton of stuff going on this week. So make sure you're subscribed and you're alerted. That way you can be the first to hear it when it drops. Guys, I really appreciate it. It was a fun weekend regardless of, the Auburn losing in the Final Four. We got some football news. We got some basketball portal news. All you can ask for at this point in time in the year. So I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Don't forget to check out mybookie.ag and take advantage of that 50% deposit bonus. We're going to be back again tomorrow. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening and drive home safely.